We looked at tens of birth and baby businesses, and this is what we saw. Hi, my name's Liz Stamford and I'm one half of Baba Business, the Birth and Baby Business Academy.
Hello, my name's Anna LaGrange and I'm the other half of Baba Business, the community membership for birth and baby business owners who want to turn their passion into profit. We're thinking specifically about a certain stage of business, aren't we? Because we work with lots of different stages, but we have a stage called Big Idea Innovators, or it could be our bold movers as well. People who have been in business a little while, they've had success, they have classes, they've got offers, they're doing well, not always consistently, they have up months and down months, but what we're seeing in this particular group of people is that they are really burnt out, are exhausted because they're doing all the things, they're running these busy classes, they're also trying to fill their classes, or it could be their sessions with, with their marketing, and they're probably also mums as well, because most of our, clients are, and they are just worn out. They know they want to take their business to the next level, but they actually don't have the energy, the time, probably even their health. They know that it's impacting their health because they're sort of at that on the cusp of burnout stage. Let's talk about that today.
Yeah, definitely. And I think you described it really well there, Anna, because I can really remember being in this phase myself where I was running a few different offers and doing it all myself, like doing all the delivery myself. So running my groups, my one-to-ones, I had pregnancy relaxation classes as well. I'd also introduced a sideline of affirmation cards, and I was just doing it all myself and wondering how do I get to, like, what's after this? How do you get to the next bit when you are doing it all by yourself? And there's two things that I did, and I think that they were really helpful. So I got some help and some support in my business, because as birth and baby business owners, we spend most of our time doing marketing. Like, a lot of our time has to be dedicated to marketing and promoting our business, which leaves like the business stuff, like the planning and the strategy, to the very bottom of the pile, because you've also got to do the delivery, like the teaching or the running of the classes or the sessions that you have with your clients. So for me, it was like, I need to outsource a little bit of that marketing. And I got some help with social media with somebody who was just interested in my business. It wasn't Ruthie, who we both know. There was somebody just before Ruthie who supported me with some social media, and it just took the pressure off, of having to be consistent and having to show up with, things like graphics and stuff. Back in those days, she says, with her walking stick, we didn't, have reels and things like that. It wasn't like popularity of what it is today. Video wasn't the same. So just having that support there was really helpful. And then the other thing I did was that I introduced an instructor into my business to help me with that. But actually, that was a little bit further on down the line, I think. So what are your thoughts? What did you do when you got to that stage?
I was just thinking about it, and I was thinking about some admin support that I got in for sort of like follow-up and things. But I'll be honest, like, the software actually is good for that now, especially like with lactation work where you're working one-to-one, and follow-up can take a lot of time, inquiries can take up a lot of time when you're busy. But actually, really, things have changed from 10 years ago where you can pay for a system that can automate a lot of that for you. That's not to say you don't have the personal touch, but a lot of that, things like making people booking an appointment, you can just have a link for that now. I really feel like I'm showing my business age here. Before, it would be phone calls and maybe an email stuff. So that probably for me was the first place I got help. I do think if you're doing classes, and I've worked with lots of people at this stage, it makes sense if you're going to expand your business that you do need, you want to share that load with somebody. So potentially having somebody who you could sort of train up, or who's already trained, and who can then teach some of your classes, so that you're still making a bit of money, but they are doing the sort of going, setting up, running the class. And look, it could be, and it's a really scary thing, isn't it? It's a really scary thing. I mean, when I was with the Mindful Breastfeeding School, when I took on a VA who was going to do a lot more work, it took me a long time to get to that point, because the thing is, this is your baby, you've built it up to this point, and you don't really trust anybody else to do it. But, and I know lots of people who have made mistakes as well, but if you can just understand that you're not going to grow when you're at this point if you don't make a change, and that change is going to have to be helped, because what you said about putting strategy to the bottom of the pile, it's not going to work. It's got to be, that is your stuff, the leader of the business, to be able to lead it and put it in the direction that it needs to go. You don't have to stop teaching or supporting, but being able to have somebody that can do that alongside you. It's not necessarily a quick solution, because you're going to have to get them up to speed. What I would say about this, again, because I know lots of people have done this and it's not gone well, you've got to start with very strict boundaries. You've got to have a contract. You've got to make sure that you both understand exactly what your role is.
Yeah.
You've also got to talk about what could go wrong and how you both might feel, and what the outcome of that would be. So I know people who have taken somebody on, they were working underneath them, but they sort of thought it was their business, and they kind of went off and like changed the name and changed all kinds of stuff, and they didn't have went a bit AWOL, basically took her idea and sort of started up their own business, because she hadn't had the proper conversations and she hadn't put everything in a written contract. That went a bit awry. I think even with an admin person, you can think, I'm just going to take on a VA. It's not that simple. You're going to have to really lay out, this is your job description, these are the tasks you're going to do, this is how many hours you're going to start off doing it. We're going to trial that and see how it goes. So it's not an easy thing necessarily, taking on a new person in either respect, but you're going to have to if you want to grow your business and create a little bit of space for yourself.
Yeah, because here's the dilemma I think a lot of people might be in at this stage, is that I'm earning consistently, I've got money coming into the business, I can contribute to the family, I can maybe save a little bit, I can pay my tax, we can do nice things, but I'm not in overflow, so I'm not bringing in a lot of money. So how can I afford now to pay somebody to do some of these admin tasks or maybe social media tasks? I'll just do it myself because I'll be saving money. But I think when we have that mindset, like, it's a bit of a scarcity mindset, and it's also it's definitely not a leader business growth type mindset. You have to sort of think, if I'm free and available, it doesn't mean I get to go and watch Love Island, Married at First Sight. It's tantalizingly, close to me there. I'd love to catch up on what happened last night, but I'm not going to. I'm going to work in my business. So you have to be strict. You have to have those kind of boundaries. You're thinking to yourself, well, if someone else is doing the admin, what am I doing? What is important for me, and how might that open my business up to earn more money? And that's a really important mindset shift for birth and baby business owners to have at this time, because I can really remember feeling that, like, I'll just do it myself, I've always done it myself, so I'll just do it myself. But you're just going to go round and round in circles and stay like that for probably years, and then get frustrated with yourself because your business hasn't gone to the next stage, or you haven't gone to the next stage.
Such an important point, because a lot of the time as business owners, obviously we love working with families because that's why we do what we do, but those other tasks, those things that you're talking about, they often put us outside of our comfort zone. So it's like looking for new opportunities. It might be like doing some PR work and doing magazine articles, local paper, getting on the local radio station, really just making yourself and your business prolific and having the time to do that. And anything that increases our visibility can make us feel deeply uncomfortable. So you're right, once you've got that help, you've got to be really, really focused on building up your audience and building up your reputation as a brand.
Yeah, definitely. And it is a scary thought, but what's the worst that can happen as well is what you've got to think about it. As long as you approach it professionally and like a business owner, like you were saying, Anna, with like putting the boundaries in place, getting the contract, like interviewing people, like this is a job position. It's not just like, hey, would anyone do my admin? Oh yeah, I'll do it. No. We don't do that. We approach it like you would in a job. If it was part of your job to help recruit someone for the business, you would approach it as professionally as possible with a lot of care and thought put into it. And it's the same with your business. Have a plan in terms of what your recruitment process is going to be like. And if it goes wrong, that's okay. Like, you look again to recruit somebody else. And also, I think people are like, oh, I can't have an employee. This isn't about having an employee. This is about contracting somebody to do some hours for your business. So you get VAs out there who have a minimum number of hours that they would do for you, but let's say their minimum number of hours a week for you is like 2. Think about what they could get done in those 2 hours. Those people who are very precise, professional, they're very good at the detail, and they can work through things really quickly for you. That could really freeing up those 2 hours for you a week to focus on something else would be, like I said, if it goes wrong, you just start again, and there will be somebody out there who is the right person for you. I've had this at the Calm Birth School. I've had the same VA since I bought it, which is like, what is that now, 6 or 7 years ago. So that worked out well for me, but there have been times where things haven't worked out as well in other areas of the business, but you learn and you grow from it.
Yeah, I think your point's really important. Let's say we've got 2 people. One person is looking for a VA, the other person is someone to teach their classes. You're looking for 2 completely different people. So before you even start, write down a list of the characteristics that person needs to have. When I went to get a new VA, so my first VA was somebody I knew from school. She worked in a VA business. She was absolutely brilliant for a first. I knew her, I trusted her, but she didn't really know the birth world. She did a brilliant job, but then it got to the point where I needed somebody who was passionate about birth and baby, that industry as much as I was. So when I kind of looked at my own personality, and I thought, I need someone who's going to fill the gap. So I looked at my own weaknesses, and I looked for people that those were their strengths. And actually quite a few came up, which surprised me. So that's obviously for that. Like, think about, what does this person need to be? I mean, you already mentioned, detail. Obviously they need to be a good communicator. Like, to me, that is like the absolute basics. I see so many people go into partnerships or employ somebody who is just not a good communicator. It's just a disaster from the word go. That's got to be the absolutely bare minimum. Like, if you're messaging someone and you're waiting for them to come back to you, then that's not going to work. And that's for both types of roles. And then just think about, what am I really bad at? What do I hate doing? And just write down not only the tasks that they would do, but what their personality would be like. And then with someone teaching your classes and joining you as a sort of like a bit of a part-time team member, what kind of personality you've got to look at 2 things. What's going to work for the parents or the parents to be, and what's going to work for me. And again, just really list that kind of characteristics down. Obviously communicator's going to be good. Obviously you want to see them in action teaching, and just get the vibe. And you can't expect them to be you, but you'll know when it's the right person. And so it's kind of get that in your head first. I think sometimes people go into this thinking, oh, I'll just have anyone who'll come and help me, but it's really important that you're very intentional about the kind of person that you want to employ.
Yeah, definitely. And I had a teacher working with me in my first business. I loved it. I really loved it because I had a really lovely, special relationship with her, still do. And she'd been one of my hypnobirthing clients for like both her pregnancies, and her and her husband had gone on quite a transformation with their pregnancies and how they felt about it and everything. And then we stayed like friends, stayed in contact, and and then she did her training, and then she wanted to be able to teach, and she didn't want to have her set up her own business necessarily. She wanted to have that mentorship and that guidance, and that's something that's also really good for your development as a business owner, is to mentor and guide people. That can really be as beneficial for the mentor as it is for the mentee, because it really helps you to grow as a leader, and it grows your confidence as well in who you are, and what your knowledge and your ability to support people in a different way. So it might be outside your comfort zone, but I would ask yourself, like, are you going to stay the way that you are, and are you happy with that? Or are you going to step outside your comfort zone and try something a little bit different?
Exciting.
Yeah.
All right, well, I hope you enjoyed that episode. Please do give us a review. It really makes a big difference to us. I think we still need a few more reviews on Spotify or Apple for our reviews to be public. So an extra special request today to leave us a little review. Even if it's just one sentence, it really does help us a lot, and it helps the podcast to be shared around. And
Yeah.
if you're watching us on YouTube, please subscribe, and you're welcome to comment on any of our videos or come on social media and tell us how you found it. And we'll see you next time.
Yay. Bye.